changed in that regard as well. So the president then also directed that this matter be brought to the United Nations. And those of you who are familiar with the movie 13 Days will have seen Adlai Stevenson, he was our ambassador to the UN, his very forceful presentation to the United Nations Security Council. 13 Days was a pretty good movie, quite accurate in portraying the danger and the president's cool leadership. My wife thought it'd be a better movie if Warren Beatty had been available to play me, but unfortunately that wasn't to be. But in addition to the United Nations, we, as demonstrating a belief in international law, Kennedy and the State Department, representatives from the State Department, not the President himself, presented our case to the little regional Western Hemisphere UN, so to speak, the Organization of American States in Washington. And with one abstention from a delegate to the OAS who could not reach his government in time to get instructions, the OAS unanimously voted to endorse and adopt Kennedy's plan for a blockade or quarantine around the island of Cuba. That converted it into a regional security plan which the United Nations Charter permits, so that we were certain to be following international law, the United Nations Charter, and that was important for a number of reasons, including winning support in world opinion, which proved later in the crisis to be very valuable, very important to us. Another way in which the management of that crisis differed from the mood and attitude today was that Kennedy communicated with Khrushchev about what was happening. Ultimately, those communications evolved into a form of negotiation. Conventional thinking is you don't communicate with your adversaries, you don't negotiate with your adversaries, although I still invoke the late Prime Minister Rabin of Israel, who said, of course I negotiate with my adversaries. Who else would I negotiate with? But there is such a controversy today when Senator Obama says that he's willing to sit down and talk with leaders of countries that don't like us very much, like Iran or Syria, or maybe Cuba, or maybe North Korea, and they say, well, that proves how naive he is. No, on the contrary. The naive people are those who flatly say, no communications, no negotiations with those who don't like us. The details of those 13 days that followed, which historians still call the most dangerous 13 days in the history of mankind, are all set forth in my book, so I'll mention only a few tonight to confirm Bob's point that it was indeed a tense and dangerous time. Everybody's first choice among the options was what the Air Force called a surgical airstrike. Sounded so good. Air Force planes swoop down, bomb the missile sites out of existence, fly away. You've just restored the status quo ante. Oh, no, you haven't. First of all, Kennedy, who was good at asking tough questions, and that was also one of my roles, asked them what were the odds of getting all the missiles and missile sites, and they said, well, maybe we'll get 3/4 of them, That a quarter of those missiles could destroy half the United States and its population. That wasn't good enough. And then the Air Force said, in addition, we're not sending our planes over to Cuba unless we first bomb all of the surface-to-air missile sites that could shoot down our planes. And then we have to also bomb the airfields, unless Soviet or Cuban bombers, while we're busily engaged in destroying missile sites, fly the 90 miles to U.S. and take